Alrighty, she should be cranking up, cranking up.
Says it's now streaming live.
Yeah. Let me hit my mute button on this side.
So do I need to mute it or just keep my mouth shut if I'm not talking?
Oh, I think you're good.
Did y'all get a weird message?
Weird message.
Mine's
got
like,
one. I got
mine's
one
like,
saying it was going live and if I wanted to leave or not. That's all.
oh yeah, asking for consent. That was weird.
Oh well. Max is in the house.
So what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Prepare Patriot NC. If you're new to watching, we appreciate you being on. Max, dude, sorry we're a little bit late. We forgot that Jason's about an hour behind us out there, so we were trying to work out the details there.
Whoops.
But to y'all that are watching
My bad.
tonight, we have a wonderful special guest, wonderful Shady special guest from his YouTube channel, the Shady Homesteader. We have Jason in the house.
What's up, guys? I'm trying to get over here so I can see comments because I'm like, I can't see it on this way. So let me get over here.
We'll give it a few seconds there, Jason, so we can all kind of get plugged in here.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on sharing the link. Well, I'll work on sharing the link here in a little bit. Usually our crowd takes a few minutes to hop on and stuff, but it is what it is. So,
what's up, Max? Tall motherfucker.
So, but if you guys are watching this back, haven't been with us before, Prepare Patriot NC. We're a training company in Western North Carolina. We specialize in firearms training, medical training, general preparedness. Teach anything from our version of concealed carry class to more advanced pistol classes, rifle classes, medical classes. We've got some other smaller, not small topics, but we got other topics that we teach. Patrick teaches a bug out bag class and preparedness class. Every once in a while, we do a kind of intro to ham radio, things of that nature. So, and whoop, I just finished our simunition safety course. So now if there's ever any, now if we can actually find anything on the market, I was looking and it's not looking good. Technically, we're supposed to get all of our stuff through a certain distributor and things like that, but the secondary market doesn't look very good whatsoever. I think I saw one Glock 17T on Gunbroker for like $700. Anyway, and then somebody else is trying to rape you for a brand new one. It's like almost $1,200. It's ridiculous. But so we'll be looking to try to get into that space. So kind of bring another aspect of training. So
worst case scenario.
What's that, brother?
So worst case scenario, you can get a UTM barrel and slide, just use a regular lower.
Yeah, we've looked into those a little bit, Jason. That's plan B, brother. That's plan B.
And for those that are joining, you'll realize real quick, Jason is a plethora of knowledge. He knows a little bit about everything, I believe.
Oh yeah, and by the way, this is our disclaimer for the evening. If you are easily offended or of the faint of heart, you might want to tune out at this point in time. This is only the strong will survive this one.
Not that bad.
So before we go any farther, let's plug the classes. We got Prepared Pistol 1 coming up Saturday. That one will be with me as lead instructor, which hasn't happened for a while, so I'm excited about that. And then Jerry, you'll be my second in that one, I believe. And then Max also brought up the the Prepper Med class. It's going to be huge that we're excited about. Max is going to be joining us with that.
It's July 24th.
That's July 24th. So what other dates am I missing between there and July 24th? I know we got a couple more in there.
We've got a comprehensive concealed carry class July 10th.
I'm Jason.
And then And then we've got on the other side of Pepper Mid, a comprehensive concealed carry class in August. I think it's the 22nd, whatever that Saturday is. So we're kind of chillaxing a little bit in the heat of the summer. Everybody's snickering, so somebody must be leaving some good damn.
Max just commented on about Jason. He's especially good at taking a room full of people, talking a room full of people into incriminating themselves.
Not all of us.
Except for Patrick. Patrick kept his mouth shut.
So
Stone cold.
So Jason he's a friend of ours through Tactical Response. We trained with Jason quite a bit. Seen him probably at our very first class we ever took. He was out there as helping out. And then we just kind of became friends over time, just kept going up there. And you learn that when you're in training with those kind of people, you start to try to work with those people because they're generally awesome. So as we've said, Jason is kind of jack of all trades. I know that you said that you've been an ASC certified mechanic and you did that for years and years. And now he also runs a screen printing company, Iron Unicorn Apparel, which if you see this shirt, it came from there. That's his alumni shirt from Tactical Response. A lot of our new gear that you're seeing coming out is coming from Jason. A lot of big name companies, Defiant Munitions. I mean, he's got a lot of people under that umbrella there that he's kind of providing some awesome shirts for, including some custom stuff that's his own design. So if you're looking for stuff like that, check out Iron Unicorn Apparel. You will find some shirts that are awesome that if you're watching this, they will suit your taste. You will probably like it. So the other expansion that I've seen you kind of starting to grow into is your YouTube channel, Jason. So we'd like to really kind of dive into that tonight because one, we'd like to see that channel grow. I'd like to see you continue to put out awesome instructional videos. Jason, in my opinion, is one of the more prepared people that I've talked to in the past that can do, like I said, kind of lots of things, but he's also into the homesteading life. And as you know, we're not just about training with guns here. That's not all we talk about. We believe that you should be tackling this as a whole approach in preparedness. Talking about, that's why we say medical is so important. We say that you should be doing prepper training where you learn how to put food back. And I think Jason has made me envious so much of this new freeze dryer that you picked up. And he's been doing these awesome videos on there about how to put back food with the freeze dryer. And I'd like to get your opinion, man. It sounds like you've been pretty impressed with it and you've enjoyed it. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and then B, what else we can be expecting to see from your new channel?
Well, thanks for having me on, by the way. You said I'm kind of a jack of all trades. Well, let's start with that. The reason why I am is I grew up poor, like dirt floor poor. If you didn't, like, my favorite meal was beans, fried taters, cornbread, and some Eckerd sausage, because Eckerd sausage was a luxury. Like, I was legitimately poor. And then my kids bring in my baby. So I put stuff back when I was a kid, so I didn't know anything different. Like, we canned, and my parents taught me how to do it. And then so with the freeze dryer, I've been wanting one forever. And I finally, I was like, you know what, this year I'm gonna make it, right? So I started looking online. The one I bought was like $4,500, like brand new. Luckily, right before I pressed the buy now button, I found one used in Oklahoma for $1,800. So I drove 6.5 hours to pick it up, man. I love it, man. It's all, what the best thing I like about it is like I've got 4 kids, and sometimes they eat all their food, sometimes they don't, right? So I could have, a half a cup of spaghetti left, or I could have a whole pan. So lately, what I've been doing is I've been taking trays and keeping them in the freezer and trays because I have extra set. keeping them in the freezer. Then after dinner, I just take the leftovers, put it on that tray, and when it freezes, when I have 4 trays done, then I toss it in the freeze dryer. That's food that I would have normally thrown to the pigs for them to eat, but now I've got it for my family later on when they need it. So that's that's what I love about the freeze dryers. There's no
So
weight.
a lot of people, Jason, don't know kind of what you're talking about when we talk about a freeze dryer. Can you explain to them what that is in comparison to like a mountain house?
Okay, so freeze dryer, people think freeze dryers are like dehydrators, or you could do the same thing with a dehydrator that you could with a freeze dryer. Like you could take, people think you can just take I don't know, I've heard people think you just throw your food in the freezer and throw it in a dehydrator, boom, you get freeze dry food. It doesn't work that way. What a freeze dryer is it basically takes all of the moisture out of the food, but leaves all the nutrients. Okay, so a dehydrator will take almost 50% of the nutrients along with the moisture out. And because basically what it's doing is slowly cooking it. And so the way a freeze dryer works is you take your food, you slide it in the trays, right? And you slide it in the machine. The machine will bring the temperature of the food down to negative 60 degrees. There's tray heaters that are above the trays, and it slowly defrosts the food, okay? And as it's defrosting the food, there's a vacuum pump, and it pulls a vacuum on the chamber. So all that moisture is pulled away and frozen to the wall of the chamber. So eventually, there's no more moisture. And so basically, what it does is all it does is pull the moisture out of the food and makes it to where it is a shelf-stable food, like Mountain House or Wise Company or Patriot, foods. Like there's several emergency prepared food. Like you go to Walmart, buy those 72-hour packs. That's freeze dried food. Actually, most of it's just oatmeal because it's cheap. But I mean, it's just freeze dried food. Like anything you can go down and buy at Academy or Walmart, the backpacking meals, that's freeze dried food. And they're $10 a meal. And they're like, for me, I'm a big dude. That's like I eat like 5 of them and still be hungry. I mean, I don't know how some of these guys can handle it. Like it's like 500 calories per serving. Like, come on. But I mean, even you, dude, you would, that's just that meal is designed for backpacking, right? So the guys run up and down the Appalachian Trail, expend 3,000, 4,000, 6,000 calories a day, but that one little backpack meal is 500 calories. And that's a double serving. Those come in double serving. So so you're only supposed to eat half of it and then wait and eat the other half. I mean, how can anybody sustain themselves that way? And it costs you $10 a meal. So I've been making food that I know is calorie dense because whenever I have to eat that food, I'm going to eat the calories, right? I'm not going to be worried. Like, yeah, I'm fat. I got lots of calories here. I call it bulletproofing, right? Because apparently there's been some
research.
There's been some science that, like, a 9mm can only penetrate like 5 or 6 inches past, so like you just or 9 to 12 inches. So if I just pack some more inches up, maybe I can keep it from getting into my organs.
Yeah, I was at a wedding recently with Doc, and he was talking about that research that came out, and essentially he was telling me I was bulletproof.
Yeah,
I was like,
So Jason, a question on that: after you freeze dry the food, how do you store it?
Okay, so there's a few options, right? So I like for fresh eggs. What I will do is I will use that, right? I use that because I've got 20 damn hens, so I get 20 eggs a day. So, and I didn't even plan on having 20 hens. It just happened that way. My wife's coworker.
it's an addiction.
I want to get rid of these freaking chickens, and my wife's like, I'll take them. So we went and got them. People don't have chickens. If you have healthy chickens, they dump 1 egg a day. So what I've been doing is I've been taking one tray will hold 18 scrambled eggs. So what I've been doing is cracking eggs up, running a whisk through it, cracking 18 eggs in a quart jar, running a whisk in it so that I'll scramble it up, and then I just pour it on the tray and freeze it, and then I freeze dry it. When that comes out, I powder it and put it in a mason jar and vacuum seal it because I will use it really quickly. 2 tablespoons of egg powder and 2 tablespoons of water equals 1 egg. So it keeps. So I just That's so if I have something I'm going to use really quick, I'll throw it in a mason jar and vacuum seal it, and it'll be fine for the month or so that it takes me to use it. For stuff that like the leftovers and food that I make and stuff like that, I put in a Mylar bag with a 300 cc O2 absorber, and that will be good for 25 years. As long as you use a 7 mil Mylar bag and you keep it in a reasonably climate controlled area where you're not getting 500 degrees, -10, like you live in Antarctica or some shit, you'll be fine. But like as long as you keep it in like a room temperature, 70 degrees, and out of direct sunlight, it'll last for 25 years. Like candies and stuff like that, I'll put in clear. You people think I'm stupid, but like this candy doesn't go bad. But people go crazy for freeze-dried candy, man. I don't know. Changes the texture of it. It heightens the flavors. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if you have a freeze dryer and you have a sweet tooth, you better just go ahead and get some metformin or whatever the hell you need to have for some diabetics, because you're going to become a diabetic.
So that's a couple of things. You touched on a couple of things there that because I've watched some of Shady's videos, and I've also, again, y'all know that I'm big into preparedness. So I've been researching the freeze dryers and stuff for a while anyway. But one of the things that's super appealing to me that I've seen you taking big advantage of, Jason, is that, when you buy something say you go and you buy a Mountain House, you open it up and you pour the contents out and you look at it. Yeah, they're pretty good. But when you are making it, you control exactly what's in it. So like if you're like me and you're a huge meat eater and you like to like go heavy on the meat in a dish or something, well, you can fix it however you want it. However you normally eat it is how you're storing it, which is so cool to me. Yeah, to be able to be completely in control is a big deal.
So chili mac, right? You buy it from Mountain House or Wise Company, they got fucking beans in it, right? Well, I'm fucking Texas. We don't put beans in fucking chili. So when I make chili mac, I put a lot more meat in it and I leave the fucking beans out, right? Then I put a little more. And for me, like I'll make a spicier version because I like it kind of spicy. Whereas for my kids, I can make a not so spicy. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So I got a side-by-side video between biscuits and gravy, right? Mountain House biscuits and gravy, and then my biscuits and gravy. I use Grand's buttermilk biscuits, right? But I made my own gravy. Now, you got to be careful freeze drying because fat goes rancid really fast, right? So you have to keep a lot of the fat out. So for like when I did my biscuits and gravy, I used the peppered gravy mix you buy at like Sam's or whatever. It's good stuff. And then I take Williams sausage. It's a big thing here in Tennessee. It's cheap. It's good. I browned it, and then I drained it, and then I set it on paper towels for 30 minutes to soak up all the fat I could, and then I put it in the gravy mix. And then, I put a denser biscuit in, and I put more gravy, more meat than Mountain House did. And when I did the calories, because like I've got a website, I put all the ingredients in, and it will break it down your nutritional value, right? One serving of my biscuits and gravy was twice the calories of Mountain House's biscuits and gravy. So for the same size packaging, you get 4 times what Mountain House would give. And it cost me $5.
That's awesome.
That's the biggest thing I like about it. And the fact that, like, I've got a garden. I've got 2 acres of freaking sweet corn down the pasture that I'm gonna have to do something with. I've got my wife went crazy. There's like something like 52 tomatoes, and I fucking hate tomatoes. I'm not eating them, but I'm not just gonna go out there and snatch on them and eat them like some people, man. Like I see people grab them off the vine, sprinkle some salt on them, and take a big old bite. I just can't do that. Like it's gotta be something. Like I can't just eat it raw. Like it's gotta be in a sandwich, and I only use like 1 or 2 tomatoes in a sandwich. It's gotta be a sauce. It's gotta be Bloody Marys, something like that. I can't just take a big old bite of it. There's like 48 tomato plants out there, so I've got to do something with tomatoes.
Stop and make you some spaghetti sauce, man.
Well, I'm going to do spaghetti sauce. I'm going to do Bloody Mary mix. The awesome thing about this thing is you can rehydrate with anything, even vodka. So make yourself some Bloody Mary mix, and then you pouch, in the world, apocalypse, you had a bad day. You open your pouch up, vodka up, shake it up, put a straw in it, you're good to go.
That's awesome.
So, so Jason, I got a question.
Yeah, what's up?
For some of the folks that are a little bit behind the curve, so the machines you're talking about, they're a few $1,000s, right?
The smallest one you have, and it would be good for a single person. If you were single, had no kids, a small would be awesome for you. It's a 3-tray system and shipped with a regular pump, not a Premier pump or an oilless pump, is $21.95 shipped.
Gotcha. So
Okay.
my question, go ahead.
I said a medium runs 26, 27 with a regular pump, and then a large is like 35 with a regular pump. But then you're gonna start adding pumps. Like a regular pump sucks. So you're changing the oil every batch, which I mean that means you're swapping oil. You're not changing, like you're not replacing it. You're emptying it, you're filtering it, and you're putting it back in every batch. So you figure every 24 to 48 hours you're fucking with that pump. If you got a lot of time in your hands or you're just really cheap, that'll work. The Premier pump is like $700 or $800, but they last for 20 to 30 batches. So that's a long time before you have to filter oil. And then you got the oilless pump, which is like $1,500, and it's no oil. All you have to worry about is defrosting the machine and adding more food. You know what I mean? So it all depends on your budget. And then your family size. Like I've got a big family because I can't keep my fucking dick in my pants. I would prefer to have had a large. I just didn't have the money at the time, and then but that's the only regret I have is if I had a large freeze dryer versus a medium freeze dryer, because you figure medium does double what a small will do, and a large will do double what a medium will do. So I can freeze dry 10 pounds of food at a time. A large will do 20 pounds of food at a time. I really
okay. So I have a question for you now, Jason, and this is the ultimate question that everybody wants to know, right? Because I know that you put back a ton of food.
Yeah.
And say for the average person who bought a medium, high quality, high grade one with all the bells and whistles that you would recommend.
Yeah.
How long is it taking you to recoup your money?
I posted a picture in like a small group of ours. You're in it. You may be in it. I don't know if you've seen it. I've got 10 totes sitting on the floor in my room, in my freezer room. They're all full of food. You figure each tote probably holds 20 to 30 pouches of food. You figure 20 to 30 pouches, you know, if I bought that food, it would be anywhere from $5, because some of it's just fruit, and then to $10 a piece. And I bought this in March. So I would say I've got my money back just doing that. And it's because I do it. A lot of people are like, they're gonna make a specific meal to freeze dry. I have the philosophy. I've always had the philosophy: you prep what you eat. Like, you don't want to buy a bunch of crap that your kids aren't going to eat later on until they're starving and they're complaining. You know, in a collapse, everybody's like the apocalypse, a collapse, or even hurricane or something that you're prepping for. You know, you're in North Carolina. You guys get hurricanes all the time, right? Or every once in a while at least. So a lot more than Tennessee. You don't want to have to add to the stress of what's going on, your family not being happy with what you're providing. So I just, whatever's left over, I freeze dry because my kids eat it.
That's a great way of saying that, Jason. That whole, the kids not wanting to eat it and just adding stress to a already stressful situation if you're dealing with a emergency situation like that. That's a great way to look and think of that.
I mean, you gotta figure like me as a father, I will do anything for my children. I would kill the entire world to save my child 1 ounce of pain if I had to. So I'm not gonna be I'm gonna have all this thing. My house is flooded. You know, I've got to deal with insurance. I've got to find a place to sleep, and then my kid's like, I don't want to eat this, Daddy. It tastes bad. Like, I don't want to deal with it. And then there's nothing you can do about it because, you know, you can't take her to McDonald's because they're in the same situation. So it's like, you're going to have to eat it or you're going to starve. And it just adds stress. So my kids already eat spaghetti. My kids already eat mac and cheese. My kids already eat jambalaya. My kids already eat, you know, tuna helper and hamburger helper. So whatever's left over, my pigs hate me, by the way, because they were used to getting a bunch of leftovers, right? But now they're not getting it. Since March, they haven't gotten anything unless it's been sitting in the fridge so long that I don't want to freeze dry it. And I'm like, just give it to the pigs. You know, that's a little question. Or my wife decided she was going to experiment and it was a disaster. I'm like, yeah, just give that to the pigs.
Yeah.
So something that we haven't touched on that I think is huge to point out there. So what a lot of people don't factor in, I'm all for everything you said. Prep what you're going to eat. Don't put a bunch of stuff back, especially like if you're new to prepping and it makes you feel good to go out and buy one of those 72-hour kits or something, fine. That's fine. To get you started, that's okay. But I will tell you that once you start to learn anything about this, you're going to realize what a giant ripoff those things are.
Yeah,
and how much it's a really bad idea to buy like the prepackaged stuff. It's just like anything else. You're not getting what you really want out of that. But the thing that I think a lot of people neglect, okay, if you go out, and I'm a big fan, I tell people when you're first getting started, copy canning is a great way to kind of get going. Just buy extra cans of what you're already eating, extra boxes of what you're already eating. All that stuff is a great way to prep. But if you had to pick up one of those boxes of 20 pouches of food, it weighs about how much, Jason? Maybe what, 10 pounds total?
5 pounds, yeah. 5, 10
and
pounds.
If I have to pick up a crate of 20 cans of food, we're talking 30 pounds or 40 pounds of food.
Yeah.
That's the huge advantage of the freeze-dried stuff that people don't think about. Man, you're saving a ton of weight. And you can pack a ton of that food up and not have, like, if you're a backpacker, you understand this because ounces equal pounds and pounds equal pain. And you don't want to carry any unnecessary food that you don't have to put extra water with and stuff if you don't have to. Now, there's a time and a place. I know you MRE guys out there are shitting your pants a little bit, but MREs have a time and a place. I'm not saying just freeze-dried food. You should be diverse. But, man, the weight savings is huge, right, Jason? I mean,
it is. Like, and the thing is, like, MREs, right? If you don't want to poop for a month, eat a few MREs. Like, that's your time and place, right?
Yeah.
And so people like, oh, you don't know what I'm talking about. Man, I've lived off MREs for 18 months, so don't even talk about. I don't know what I'm talking about. You eat the peanut butter. You eat the peanut butter when you eat the peanut butter when you come back. The little MRE peanut butter when you come back, so you can actually poop. You save all those MRE peanut butters. Don't eat them until you start coming back, because that rest of that stuff will block you up. But give you an idea. A buddy of ours sent me 40 pounds of chicken, diced chicken breast, right? And he works for Purdue Farms. He just threw it in a box, threw me 40 pounds of diced chicken breast, and he said, "Hey, I want you to freeze dry this for me." We worked out a deal. So you can load 10 pounds of food into my freeze dryer at once. So I put 10 pounds and I weighed it. Like I zero out the tray, put 2.5 pounds per tray of cooked diced chicken breast, and I put it in the freeze dryer. When it came out, when I bagged it up, I weighed it, and it was 1.5 pounds.
Wow. That's insane. But that's also the point that people are missing. It's like, man, there's a huge advantage to that. A huge advantage.
Yeah, and
all right. So,
go ahead. What is that? I was going to say that 1.5 pounds. If you bought it from Mountain House, would have cost you $110. Is what it would cost you from Mountain House. So it's also a huge savings. They charge you $55 per.
So that was. Yeah, that was where I was kind of going earlier. Is where the folks that were behind the curve and don't have the actual machine and things. What are brands that you would recommend? I know I've seen you post about the Zon having a sale on what was it, Artisan Farms?
Yeah, Artisan Farms. There's a few things that I can't make with my home freezer dryer, right? So to do honey, you have to have a special freezer dryer that actually atomizes the honey before it freeze dries. It turns into a powder. So like I buy honey powder because honey's gonna be awesome, like to add to your biscuits or your chocolate biscuits or whatever, just a sweet treat, and butter powder because you can't do that either. But because you can't do any really high fat, so butter doesn't last, and I can't do honey because it's pure sugar. Have you ever you can always want to see the laugh, Google somebody trying to freeze dry honey, and it literally explodes. Like it gets this foamy, crusty, it looks like the blob or whatever. It explodes all over your machine. It takes you hours to clean it up. And like people like don't want to listen to people that had freeze dryers for years and say don't do it. I was smart enough to like Google it and say fuck it, I'll just pay the $30 on a damn can of honey powder. Austin Farms is awesome. They're good stuff. I have most of my garden is planted from the Austin Farms number 10 can of seeds. Let's see, Mountain House. If you want a pre-made stuff, they're expensive. I mean, like chicken breast it's cooked, it's ready to go. All you do is add some water to it. It's $55 a can. Beef is like almost $100 a can, beef chunks or whatever. I'm not a big fan of Wise Company. That keep you alive. Like if you're fucking starving, eat you some Wise Company. But it's fucking bottom of the barrel shit. And they charge you fucking, $100 a bucket. There's some other like fly by night places like Patriot Foods and like you got the stuff they sell at Walmart for stupid cheap. But if you look at it, it's all soups and oatmeal. Like which is calorie dense food. There's no protein in it, So
but also, Jason, I think the things that they miss about that is with oatmeal, you don't have to do anything to oatmeal to store it yourself. Like put it in a Mylar bag and seal it. It's that simple, and you just got everything you bought for pennies on the dollar, basically.
Same thing with rice, but I do something a little different than rice. Right? I'm thinking, all right, so I have a totally electric house. So I gotta have a wood stove outside, so I can on when it's hot as fuck. I don't want to heat the house up, so I can out there. So but like you figure, if you're gonna have people store this rice, right? Huge, 5-gallon buckets of rice, 100-pound bags of rice. You gotta think of how much fuel it's gonna take to make that rice, because you have to add water, you have to boil it for 20 minutes, and then let it sit, right? So I take rice. Like the other day, we had Salisbury steak and rice. So I'm off keto right now, which is killing me. But the price of meat, man, I just can't. I got 4 kids. I can't afford to be buying, hundreds of pounds of meat to stay on keto. So we had Salisbury steaks and we had rice. So with rice, people think I'm crazy. I freeze dried the rice, right? The leftover rice. The awesome thing about freeze dried rice is it's already sucked up all that water. It's already expanded, right? So it's ready to go. So when you freeze dry rice, it comes out. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. 1 cup of water, 1 cup of rice, and you're done. There's no heating it, nothing. You boil a cup of water on your jet boil, dump it in. 3 minutes later, you eat rice. Versus 20 minutes later.
So basically, it's like
it's minute rice, basically.
Yeah, minute rice. That's what I was about to say. Okay, so that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, so I did that. Yeah.
So I guess there's a lot of things that people, I think, overlook that you can do cheaply yourself. And I'm all for doing the basics, quickly and as best as you can right now. If you don't have a freeze dryer, don't feel like you can't do anything. So we preach preparedness. We think you should be putting back something: rice, beans, oatmeal, powdered potato flakes, like all of those things you can do very easily yourself and pretty cheap. And that can get you a lot of bulk.
Yeah.
But when you get to a certain point, when you've been doing this for a while, you start to realize, okay, there's only so much rice, beans, and other stuff that I'm going to eat. And you need to start diversifying what you're actually putting back. And I think that's whenever a freeze dryer could be huge, man.
Yeah, like protein. Man. Protein's awesome, right? So
Agreed.
You need protein. Like it's like I don't see how. Like have you ever seen a strong vegan? Like very few, right? And those guys are like I've met a couple vegan bodybuilders, and the only reason why they're fucking bodybuilders is because they're pumping fucking testosterone, and fucking all of the steroids, and they're freaking working their ass off in the gym. But the fact that they're getting their bulk from the extra hormones, because they're not getting near the protein they need. Plant-based protein's crap, and most of it's soy. And if you ever see, soy gives guys boobs. So you need protein, and you're gonna need a balanced diet in the time you're gonna need. You're gonna be using calories like crazy. You figure one person is supposed to be using 5 gallons of water a day. the water weighs 8 pounds, right? You got to lug that shit somewhere, right? Because you're not going to open your tap and get water. If you're going to be chopping wood to heat your wood, heat your water, boil your water, that's a lot of work. You're going to use a lot of calories. Protein's awesome. So what we've been doing is like, if I find like, Walmart does discounts, right? Like the shit's literally going to expire that day. Come buy it, cook it up, or put it in the freezer today, right? And it's usually $5, $6, $7 cheaper than what it would be. Like I found some stew meat that was like $10 cheaper than it was yesterday, and it was okay. So I literally just brought it home and threw it in the freezer dryer raw. Now the reason why I did it raw is because I was going to use it for stew. So I'm going to take vegetables, dump it in a pot of water, dump the freeze-dried meat in the pot of water, let it boil, sea salt, pepper, and boom, you're good. What do you want to see pics of? You don't want to see pics of me.
So you kind of touched on something. You kind of touched on something there, Jason, that I kind of tell people when you first start out prepping, and this is part of the reason why our class is structured the way it is. When we do a bug out bag class and like prepping 101 class, it's because I know that's where most people want to start. They're all interested in bug out bags and getting something to like, and they have no clue where the end destination is. After you've been doing this for a long enough time, you find out that the end destination is homesteading because you realize how unprepared you really are, and how if you don't have a plan in place to develop your own proteins, to create your own food, eventually, no matter how much you prep, it's going to run out. Without a community of people and a resupply of your own stuff coming back, you're kind of shit out of luck. And a lot of people forget that and they get too caught up in the, as we always say, the gear part of it. They're all worried about what bag and what shit's in the bag. And I try to lay things out in our class where they kind of see the big picture. And I say, the bug out bag for you, if this is what you have to do, I want you to make this like your first 3 days. Okay, put it in this bag. But then understand that this is a 3-day pack. Like you have this for 3 days. Now what? Like now you need to be looking at what you're going to do in relation to the grand picture and the big things. And that's one thing that I think that you do so well at your homestead, Jason, is that you're expanding out and you have protein on the hoof. Is that right?
Yeah, we got rabbits, we got quail, we got chickens, we got pigs, we got cows. Now the downside of this is like you know me, I've been training attack response for 6-7 years now. So I'm a decent gunfighter. My wife is a pretty decent gunfighter. She's been training since 2015, 16. And then my kid just started training 2 years ago. That's 3 shooters for 40 acres of land, several head of livestock, and 3 smaller children to protect. It's gonna be hard for me to do that. I love my daughter to death, and if anybody's ever trained with her, like she's a good shot. She knows what she's doing. I have no qualms about giving her a gun and say go to work. But anybody's trained with me, they'll know that I have no mercy on people. But
definitely not.
I have no way to protect them. Now, granted, I live kind of in the middle of nowhere. I'm 30 miles from the nearest store. I mean, it's not like I can just go, I forgot milk. Let me walk down the street or go down this corner, go to 7-Eleven and get some milk. But eventually, if it ever got to like a collapse, like an EMP or something stupid, crazy shit to where the end of the world as we knew it, it wouldn't take very long for the cities to start pouring out the country because everybody thinks that farmers feed the country, right? Which is bullshit. Like the farmers are getting paid not to feed the country. So you need a community. Like I'm working. So we have another side deal that I'm not talking about here because it's, but if anything ever happened, I'm taking all my shit and leaving. As much as I say it, unless between now and something happens, I get a strong community that I can go, okay, well, we can defend this plot of land, I'm leaving. I'll take what I need. And I'll take what I can take, and everybody else whoever comes to my house can have whatever they want. But
so that just shows me how much farther ahead you are than most people, that you have that kind of understanding and realization. That's what our whole company is founded on and based upon, is you having that community in this area.
Yeah.
If you're in Western North Carolina, that's what we do. That's the whole reason we started Prepare Patriot. It's to build that group, to defend what you have built, to defend your homestead, to do all that. So it's so cool to hear you go full circle and have a plan in place and what you're doing there, Jason. You're a smart guy, man. Good advice for listeners.
Yeah, I mean, like, you gotta have a community. Like, my landlord, I would say, the guy who actually owns most of this, like, I rent this place, which is crazy, but I can do whatever I want. When I moved here 3 years ago, I moved from Dallas, and we were kind of a suburb. We started out in the country, and then this Dallas grew. It became a suburb. So basically, my school that I graduated from was what my kids were going to. And when I graduated, it was a 2A high school. We left, it was a 5A high school. And we moved here. And, when I first got here, I'm like, hey, can I do this? It's like, I don't care, just don't burn the house down. Hey, can I do this? I don't care, don't burn the house down. Hey, can I do this? And finally, I was like, dude, I told you, I don't care what the fuck you do, just don't burn the house down. And so I was okay. So I started treating it like it's my own place. And I'm a little different tenant than most people. Like, dishwasher goes out, I just fix it. I don't call them and go, hey, you need to put a dishwasher in here, I'm not paying rent. Or the water heater goes out, I just fix it. And I just tell him, hey, I fixed the water heater. He's like, okay, take out the rent. I'm like, don't worry about it. Because he lets me do what I want to do. He hasn't ever once bitched about anything that I've done to this place. So if the water heater goes out, I'll put a water heater in. Not worry about it, And I treat it like it's my place. But he's only one guy. Now, granted, he's a pretty good shooter. He teaches long range shooting. He's got there's a 1,000-yard range that runs right down the side of the property that I rent, and he goes out. He's out there shooting all the time. He's a good gunsmith. So I mean, he could help me. His wife could help me, but they're not preppers. They're just they live like this place didn't even have a pantry room. So like they just.
Hey Jason, I got a question, man. He's not that old dude from the movie Shooter, right?
No, he's not.
The dude still got a shovel?
Nah, his name is Ken. He owns a company called Southern Cerakote. He's a good man. He knows what he's doing. His dad owns most of the damn land in this county. So they own a big construction company. So like he's a good asset to have. Like if I need a question of like how to do something building wise, I can call him up and he'd help me. But I only see him once a month, and it's like, here's your money. And like I take care of some cows for his dad, and because I've got cows here, so it's just he just adds them to the lot. But I don't see them very often. The only time I see them is when they need me, like the car broke down or something like that. Hey, I need you to come by, look at this, or they come out and check on their cattle. I don't see them very often, so I don't see them as an asset, as at the end of the world situation, right? But like, I'm good friends with James. He's family to me. I eat James. I'm talking about James here. So I eat Thanksgiving I've ate Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner at his house for the last 4 years. So I mean, that's any alumni is available. Any alumni that's in town around Thanksgiving and Christmas, you can come down and eat there. But like he's family. Like he treats my daughter like a grandchild. So I'll be heading an hour north to hang out with him and a few others when this happens, because I know I can trust them.
And we don't blame you or fault you for that, brother. The hard part because we know what group you're talking about. Obviously, we're a part of that same group, and we think that's a very wise idea. The hard part for us is that when you're so far away, if you're 8-10 hours away, it truly is a big event.
Yeah.
You're looking at risking a lot of lives just to get there. That's not including you're going to leave all your other family behind.
Yeah.
So that was really kind of the mindset when we started building where we're at, was the whole point of it being, let's build a team here that can do the same thing, that can be there for each other, that can, because I know what you're talking about, obviously.
Yeah.
And obviously we got a lot of work to make it to where I truly feel, I think we're getting there. I think we're building some damn good dudes here. We have a pretty solid foundation, I would say, to build on. And that's, if y'all ever want to know our true motivation, that's it. Like, that's the motivator, is to build that group for us here in Western North Carolina. Because I don't think everybody can make it, 8-10 hours away. It's going to be all that most people can do to get to where they're bugging out 30 minutes away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, so I've said this 100 times, and people think I'm stupid. Now, you can't see it, but there's, I'm in my shop, right? So screen printing over there. I'm in here for 10 hours a day. I listen to books, right? So instead of radio or, podcasts, I listen to books just because I use it as a TV. So like, I'm big into the apocalypse stuff, so I listen to post-apocalyptic fiction. And, I've told it 100 times. If you live 8 to 10 hours away from here, you're never getting here. Like, in these books, right, people walk 400 or 500 miles, right, and I guess they're closet badasses, because every time they come up against something, they of course, they come out on top, right? That ain't gonna fucking happen, dude. I'm sorry.
No, no, odds are against you.
I'm sorry, but like, if something happens to where the cars don't work, that's fucking walking from North Carolina to Tennessee is a long ass walk.
Well, that's me and Matt did the math, and at a rough guess and rough estimate, if we were walking to Camden, it would take us, what did we say, 20 weeks?
Yep.
To get there.
What
we say, Matt?
If we could cover 10 miles, it would take 2 months. Yeah. If we could cover 10 miles a day.
Now that's assuming, that's assuming no problems, no family else with us. That'd be just one dude walking. Yeah. So realistically, 6 months at best.
Yeah.
And that's trying to get through some fatal funnels in the Cumberland Gap,
Plus, you can only carry 3 or 4 days worth of food with you, so you're gonna have to trap rabbits, or try and or if you're really desperate, take it from somebody else, which that's a fucking risk. That's a good way to get ventilated. So like, you have to worry about food, water, you have to sleep. So if it's just it's gonna be a pain. You have to like become a hermit and like just completely stay away from all civilization, or you're gonna fucking die. People don't realize, we're the America, the home of the free and brave, until the fucking power goes off. So somebody can't just look at their phone and get on Twitter or whatever. They can't go to McDonald's and fucking order a fucking 20 chicken McNuggets.
What did I hear? 5 meals away from total chaos? Isn't that the statistic from the FBI or something like that?
I mean, you're talking. I just told you I'd kill everybody in the world to keep my kids from having 1 minute of fucking pain. If I'm looking at my kid starving to fucking death, I will cut your fucking head off for a can of corn to give it to my fucking kid. And any other man with a grain of salt will do the same fucking thing. So not only are you dealing with the shittiest, worst people in the world, the predators, that rapists, murderers, thieves that have no rule of law, but you're dealing with people like me that all they want to do is make sure their family survives.
Yep.
And if I can't feed myself without killing you, I'm gonna fucking kill you. So
then the other thing there, Jason, is when we were talking about that, you're talking about one guy. Even with a team of guys and our whole train division down here, so to speak, it's just almost impossible, dude. Like it would be nearly impossible.
Yeah. So what's gonna happen when I see what happened if something like that would happen? Like, so say some asshole popped off an EMP, right? And all the power went off, and it's going to be off for decades, right? Because all these big my dad's a power lineman, or he retired as a power lineman. He builds substations for a living, right? So that's what, brings the power in from the transmission lines, downgrades it, and brings it to the cities, right? Those transformers and those substations are built in China and they're built for that substation. If an EMP is going to blow every one of those transformers up, China's, how long does it take to get a damn transformer from China to fix it? And that's across the entire country. So,
and that's if they were willing to cooperate. See, that's the thing. You're assuming cooperation. That's not going to happen.
That's if they didn't send the shit.
So obviously that's a worst case scenario. But let's reel it back into like a real life scenario. Let's just say that it's not something that big. Let's just say it's economic collapse and it's not so sudden and it is a slow drain.
Like
yeah, kind of like what's looking like right now with super inflation and the, prices of everything going through the roof.
Yeah.
It can be a whole different scenario. So I try to tell people when I'm teaching the class, try not to focus so much on the what's going to cause it and focus on what you're going to do.
Yep.
Focus more on prepping the best you can possibly prep. That way you have zero. It doesn't really matter which one goes off. If it's a slow decline, great. I get more time to be able to do more stuff and extend my stuff out, right? Yep. If it's a huge giant burst, blam, there it is. Well, you're on a timer, but at least you're more prepared than other people are, and hopefully you'll be able to get a little bit farther down the path.
Yeah.
That's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, like I'm hoping to God if something happens where I have to leave my place that my truck runs. Because I got to leave an hour drive, and I want to bring every cow that's here. I want to bring every pig that's here, every chicken that's here, every rabbit that's here, and not just for my family. I mean, we're going to be a bunch of people where I'm going, and we got to feed them, and we're going to be a community. That's the thing about it is with you need to have a community, and it needs to be like you got to have the mindset of like. Yes, if you're going to be part of this mutual assistance group or community or whatever you want to call it, it don't matter that you spent the fucking $5,000 on a freeze dryer or that you spent the $10,000 on all this food or you got all this ammo. Your community is going to need it. So which means you need to not be like, well, you should have prepped better. Fuck off. Because they're just going to slit your throat in your fucking sleep after about a month of them seeing you eat well and you not. So you need to share that if you're going to put yourself in a community of people to protect each other, you have to share your resources, no matter what they are. Ammo, food, water, knowledge, whatever. Labor, you got to share it. That's one thing that's the most important thing when you're prepping is you can't do it by yourself. You've got to share with your community.
And a lot of people don't realize too, Jason, that a lot of times your most valuable asset is your prepared mind.
Yeah.
So, for instance, how much of your food would you give a doctor in your group that maybe wasn't as prepared because you want to keep your kids alive?
I would make sure that I wouldn't just hand them food, but I would make sure that every time I ate, he ate.
Exactly. Like you're going to take better care of that person because he's an asset to the group, right? It's the same thing in any way. And I like John Kranz made a comment on here. He said, I always tell guys who have precious metals, how much is that gold and silver worth when your kid is starving? I don't want an ounce of silver for a can of soup, no trade. You're absolutely right, John. And that's exactly how we feel about it. You can have all the money in the world and it will mean dick to you if you don't have food. It will mean nothing to you. Paper is paper money is it's a figment of your imagination. It's one of those things that really in reality means nothing. You can wipe your ass or start a fire with it. But that's about what it's worth. And it ain't real good at that. It ain't even really good at that, right? So it's like one of those things that money means very little whenever the shit really boils down to it.
So in Venezuela, there's literally millions of Venezuelan dollars in the streets, in the gutters.
We say that all the time, dude. We say that all the time. If you want to see how shitty it can get, look at how Venezuela's turned in the last little bit.
Yep, it's fucking bad. And the military is still in the food, that we send, so of course, we're, the breadbasket of the world, right? So we send aid to places like that, and it never mixes to the people. The people with the guns keep the shit, That's another thing. I have guns. I'm sorry. Fuck you. You're not taking my gun. Because that's what keeps me the ability to feed my family. I can hunt with the gun. I can keep your fucking two-legged critters from taking my food. And I keep them from fucking raping my children. And I can always make sure that somehow I can protect my family. and I'm never giving my guns up. And you know, yeah, fuck you, NSA, come take it. You know.
So we've kind of
Damn.
been talking a whole bunch about the prepping, and believe it or not, guys, it's been 54 minutes already. So I kind of want to circle back a little bit. We'll end on the whole conversation. I think it's a huge deal to build community. If you're watching and you're part of Western North Carolina, we'd love to have you. Even if you can't shoot, that means little. We can teach people how to shoot. That's not a problem. It's really more about being an asset rather than a liability. That's what it all comes down to us. Can you provide more than just a shooter? Because just a shooter means little to a group of shooters.
Yeah.
So
that's James's biggest thing. Like he's like, well, I can shoot. Well, so can everybody else here. Like,
yeah, that's not that. That's a couple, maybe a week, and we can turn most people into pretty damn deadly people.
My 14-year-old daughter I will put my 14-year-old daughter against most anybody off the street in the shoot house, and my 14-year-old daughter will win. And she's only been training for 2 years. You know?
So, I mean, there you go. It doesn't take long to develop some pretty ruthless shooters. But what we can't seem to get people to really latch on. Now, some of our guys are really coming around, and we're so proud of you for putting the effort in. And guys like Max that are driving down here to do the Prepper Med class, like, good for y'all, because that's where I think you should be putting the time and effort in. If you haven't already, you need to be checking out the Prepper Med stuff. You need to be looking into classes for medical. You need to be looking into the other things that maybe you're neglecting. And then before we wrap up too much, Jason, I want to just let these guys, if you will you tell them where to find the Iron Unicorn apparel stuff? Is it ironunicorn.com, or is that right?
It's ironunicornapparel.com. I don't do a lot I don't do a lot of 1 or 2 piece orders anymore. Like, I'm so behind on those, and I'm tired of people emailing me. But so like I'm getting those done and shutting them down. I do big orders. Like, if you want to order from me, you're gonna need to order 12 or more.
Okay.
Basically, because like it's just as much stress. It's just as much trouble to print 1 shirt as to print 12 shirts. So I'd rather print 12 shirts. Like, and it's just, so I'll do that. Iron Unicorn Apparel is what I do. I mean, that's how I pay my bills. You go to ironunicornapparel.com, go to Iron Unicorn Apparel on Facebook, Iron Unicorn Apparel on Instagram. You get a hold of me anyway that way. My phone number is on the website.
Is the Prepare Patriot stuff still open?
Yeah, I think so. Let me check. I may have turned it off. I don't know. Go away. I'll be back.
If you guys are interested in some of our gear, that's who we've been getting to make it. Just let us know. We can put an order in, talk with Jason if we feel like it's there's enough to make it worthwhile for him.
Well, so like yours is still on, I believe, because I never turned it off when I donated for Will's deal. Yeah, it's the hoodie and tee is still on. But like I owe you an order right now. So if somebody wants to order right now, I can just add theirs to it, because I still have to print your screen. So I'll be printing yours and then whatever else. But whenever I finally when I get around probably next week to print your order that you have with me, I'll shut that off. So you have till about time next week before I shut off that to order.
There you go, guys. You heard it there. That's the deadline. If you want some of the kick-ass swag that we're rocking, you need to get on with Shady and get an order in.
But like,
it's a limited time, guys.
And on that community thing, like, yeah, you're talking about medical, but like, you're gonna need welders, you're gonna need mechanics, you're gonna need farmers. You just need to build yourself. Like, I know a little bit of everything because I grew up poor, but there's things I don't know, and I mean, you know, my family doesn't know how to do it. I can't do it all myself. So I would take 10 people that know how to fucking farm and can, and over 1 shooter, and it came down to it.
But you know what's funny about that, Jason? We can offer classes on canning once a year and have a hard time filling them. So it just shows you that they got to get their mindset right first. Until they get that kind of checked off, it's all fun and games. Yeah. Until they realize that, you know, hey, if I don't do this right, it could really affect me and my family, you know.
Yeah, I feel like people are like, I'm just gonna farm. Well, like, you know what? Maybe you should go out and plant a garden this week, this year, and see how you do. Because
yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, let's see how that goes.
Like a lot of people, I'll have a pretty good garden this year, but it's taken me 3 fucking years to get this soil to where it will produce anything but a fucking tomato. Like, and even then, it was like half of them were blighted last year. Like, I finally have augmented the soil enough that something is growing. Like, I had some squash here and there and stuff like that, but like most of the stuff I planted didn't produce because they didn't have nutrients I needed in the ground. You know?
It's an art, dude. Like it's an art and a science, and even the people who are professional farmers will tell you that they are still learning every year. Something will change every year that makes them have to go back and redo it. We actually have a commercial farm close by to us, and their motto is just keep planting. You know, if it doesn't go this time, let's do something different and plant it again. You know, that's just the way they roll, man. So
yeah, like Nicole did a lot of work on our plants this year, and like it's some of it, and then like this, it's been raining every day for this whole entire week. My garden is saturated, like there's puddles in the garden. Like I'm gonna lose some plants because of it, because some plants aren't supposed to have a lot of water; they're gonna drown. You know, you have Mother Nature, like this saying is like, if you want to make God laugh, make a plan. You know
yeah, that's right. Tell him your plans. That's even better.
Tell him your plan. You're gonna make God laugh. Tell him your plan. You know, because he's just gonna throw a monkey wrench in everything you do, right? But yeah,
That's right, dude. You're absolutely right.
Like I have a freeze dryer. I homestead. You know, but the most important prepping resource in the world is community. You can't do it by yourself, man. So I think if that's the one thing you take from it is you need to have people you can trust. And I mean like people that you would well, I mean people you trust, I mean people that you would call to help hide the body and you know they'll keep their mouth shut. You know what I mean? Not just like, oh, I know this guy from, I shoot with him once a month, No, I would use people that, hey, I just killed this dude. I need somebody to help me hide this thing. That's the community you need, not just the
parting words from the Shady Homesteader. Guys, if you haven't already and you are following us, we love it. If you go over there and support Shady's channel, please go over, hit the subscribe button, little notification bell. You can check out all kinds of cool shit he's doing. That candy that he's making looks legit. So just check all his stuff out, guys. It's pretty cool stuff, and it's interesting if you're in the homesteading prepping lifestyle, which we hope you are if you're watching us. There's some stuff to be learned on his channel. Anything else you want to add, Jason, before we shut her down, man?
Nah, man, it's not like kind of basically it's almost your tagline. It's like stay safe, stay prepared, and stay shady, man. Like,
that's his little. That's good. That's good, man. I like it.
And so people don't know what shady means, but
we know what shady means. You shady fucker.
Yep.
Anyways, guys, we appreciate you watching. We'll see you next week. Jason, man, we appreciate you so much for being on with us, dude. Thank you so much.
That was awesome, man.
You guys are awesome.
Cool. We're gonna shut her down and we'll hang out and chat here for just a couple seconds. Wrap it up behind the scenes.